Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin with chapter 25, verse 22. Chapter 25, verse 22. Very famous beginning to Parshas Toldot. Rivka has become pregnant, and there's a tremendous amount of jostling within her womb. Doesn't seem normal. What she doesn't yet know is she has twins. There are midrashic significance as to what the twins are doing inside of her womb, but the bottom line is there's a lot of movement around, more than normal. So verse 22, the children jostled within her, and she said, if so, lama ze anochi, literally translated, why this for me? She went to seek out God. What does she mean when she says lama ze anochi? The easy way to translate it could range anywhere from I wonder why this is happening to what do I need this for? And maybe something in between. It's an interesting phrase. And Mefarshim say a lot of interesting things on this pasuk. And then the last phrase of the pasuk, she goes to seek out God. How about that? It sounds like a nice policy for an OBGYN's office that if anyone ever has difficulties during pregnancy, just if you'd like an answer from God, press 4. Have that like on the voicemail. I mean, it's an interesting thing. Like, what does it mean she's seeking out God? And then, by the way, the next pasuk begins, and Hashem told her as follows. Pretty good. Okay, so let's start with the Ramban. Ramban and pasuk Chaf Beis. Vatomer im kain lama ze anochi im kain gadol tsar ha'ibur. Lashon Rashi. So Rashi says a really striking pshat. She says, I've been davening all this time to get pregnant. If this is what pregnancy is like, who needs it? Why was I davening so much? Why did I beg God to bring this to me? That's what Rashi says. Ramban says, I don't think that's the correct pshat. Rabbi Avram Amar, ki shoelo es hanoshim im ira lahem kacha. The Ibn Ezra is a different shot. The Ibn Ezra says she asked around, right? She asked other women who had experienced pregnancy, this is what I'm feeling. Have you ever experienced this? And they all said to her, we've never experienced anything like what you're describing. So the Ibn Ezra says that she says to herself, if so, meaning if the account that's been provided to me of what's normal to expect for pregnancy is so different than what I'm experiencing, I wonder why I'm having all these unique experiences. I wonder what's going on. The Ramban says that it's a good pshat, but the problem is you have to stick it a lot between the lines. I mean, she says, if so, why is this happening to me? So according to Rashi, if so is referring to the previous phrase. If it's going to be that there's so much jostling inside of me, what do I need this for? But according to the Ibn Ezra, if so is, if it's like all the other women tell me that they haven't had experiences like this, but that's not at all in the pasuk. So Rashi's pshat is, of course, a little shocking. The Ibn Ezra's pshat is not shocking, but the Ibn Ezra's pshat is just difficult to fit into words. The Ramban says, I think the pshat is ki amra im ken yali lama ze anochi ba'olam. A really striking pshat from the Ramban. If this is going to be what I'm experiencing, why am I in the world? Halavai eineni. Better I not be around. Again, it's hard to say such things. This is what the Ramban is saying. Sha'amus o shaloa yisi. Better I would die or that I never have existed in the first place. This is such terrible pain. This is such terrible discomfort. What's going on? So 3 very different pshatim in the Rishonim, but however you understand it, it's clear that she's making a pretty big statement. What's meant by Telech Rosh Hashem? She went to seek God. Lashon Rashi, lahagid ma'ya besofa, to find out what's going on and what ultimately will happen. Rashi brings down that she went to Shem, the person who was a great theologian at the time, who certainly believed in monotheism, who was known as a big tzaddik. She asked Shem to find out what's going on, to explain to her what's going on. And then the next pasuk is the answer with divine inspiration, I guess, that Shem provided to her. But the Ramban says, says, I think what it means to seek out God is to daven. It's a nice pshat to just think about. That's what it means to seek out Hashem, to daven. So that's the Ramban's pshat. Okay, before we move on, I want to see the Kli Yakar Kliyakar an hasa chafbeis vaisrot suabanim bekirba. Ritzitzazu he sheba avral pesach beis medrash shel shem ve'ever Yaakov mefarches lotzes ve'esav ma'akiv al yada. Uba avral pesach avodah zara Esav mefarches lotzes ve'Yaakov ma'akiv al yada. Famous medrash that depending on where she passed, one of the babies inside pushed very hard and the other one tried to stop it, tried to stop the baby from pushing out. So if she passed by the theological house of Shem and Aver, which was a place that believed in monotheism, Yaakov would try to get out. And if she pushed by a place of idol worship, Esav would try to get out. V'hi savra sheina davar king elavlad echad bevitna v'rotzeh lotzes bein lepischei batei midrash also bein lepesach avodah zarah. And she didn't appreciate that there were two fetuses inside, so she thought this was just one, and that he was interested in Shem ve'Aver and avodah zarah. V'im kein chas v'shalom. So she said to herself, wow, so there's this one baby inside who I guess knows more than I do because he's interested in both of these things. So maybe they are both true. Maybe they are both right. So she said to herself, why is this me? Meaning, so she said to herself, so why am I confident that I know any more than the women worshiping idols? 50% of the time, my baby is pushing towards the monotheistic place, but the other 50% is pushing towards the idol worship place. So maybe the idol worshipers are just as correct as I am. Therefore, so Kliyakar says what it means she went to seek God is not to get an answer and not to talk to Hashem, but she went to do more theological reflection and research. Am I sure that there's only one God? That's what the Kliyakar's pshat is. Very different pshat. Or Achaim on pasuk chaf beis. Vayisrotetzu abonim. Tzarich ladas omru vayisrotetzu. Gam omra lama ze'anochi. What's going on with this language of them pushing? Vayisrotetzu literally seems to be some language of breaking through or something. What does she mean when we say, why me? Rashi Pirishim King Gadol Sarai, but Rashi explained if the pain of pregnancy is going to be so great, Rashi said that the pshat is she's asking herself, what did I daven so much for pregnancy if this is what it was going to be like? Very difficult to understand that this great righteous woman is upset. What did I need to be pregnant for? Because it's uncomfortable. It's also so difficult to understand. The next pasuk is supposed to put her at ease. The next pasuk is, there's two nations within you. Oh, fine, no problem. So according to Rashi, the issue was she's having terrible discomfort. Well, now that I know I'm having all the discomfort, it's all fine. Why is that? What's the solution? For Abosenu Zal Darshu Drashos Harbe, of a Pshara Kasav don't know that there's all kinds of ideas, but it's difficult to understand the basic meaning of the verse. Achem Pshara Kasavu Vaisrotetsu Lashon Ritzot Pirish Hayunut Chakim Biyoser Kashir Shiyim Rotetim V'lo Yiskaimu B'Meyeha V'Ze Yore Ki Heriona Eino Miskayim. So Rachaim says the pshat is not just she had kicking, but they literally were trying to break out early in her pregnancy, whenever, she would pass this place or that place, and she began to ask herself if she'll have a successful pregnancy in the first place. So it's not that she's disturbed by the pain. She's asking herself, is this pregnancy going to make it? So she's saying, why was I pregnant in the first place? Lama anochi hara lorik yogati. If my pregnancy is not going to be successful, why did God make me pregnant in the first place? It's this big miracle that I got pregnant. I hadn't gotten pregnant for all these years. I got pregnant for a pregnancy that's not going to endure. Vatelach l'broshus Hashem. She went to seek out God. Perush levakish racham imalkim heriona. She went to ask God for mercy that her pregnancy should be successful. Okay. It's hard to believe that a miracle would occur and then it not work. Uliolam lo ikpid al tsari royum ki atzadikim yisplu tsar godab olam asel tachlis tov hanitzchi. The Orach Chaim says, I don't think it's that she's upset. She was uncomfortable with the pregnancy, even though it could have been very, very difficult. Because tzaddikim, righteous people, they can carry a big load. But what she's worried about is she's worried the pregnancy is not even going to endure. So we had a wide range of options. So Rashi says, what did I need to be pregnant for in the first place? Ibn Ezra says, why is my pregnancy so different than other people? Ramban says, why am I living? Wow. Kli Yakar says, she had like this theological question, why would her fetus be pushing to both places? And the Orach Chaim says, why would it be that God made me pregnant if it wasn't going to succeed? Okay, let's jump ahead to verse 30. The babies are born. They end up being very different, Esav and Yaakov. And just skipping ahead, Esav becomes a man of the field. Yaakov becomes a man of the tent, and Esav comes back from a day in the field. He's really wiped out, and Yaakov is making lentils, and Esav is very tired. Verse 30, Vayomer Esav el Yaakov, Esav said to Yaakov, Haliteni namina adoma adomazeh, give me please from this red stuff, Ki ayef anochi, because I'm tired, Hakein karashmo Edom. Therefore, he called his name Edom. It's a very difficult phrase because there was one time that he asked for something red. They called him red. Like, what does that mean? And Esav, of course, we talk about the nation Edom. Those are the descendants of Esav. Just because of this one moment, this one quote. So Ramban, second Ramban on Pasuk Lamed. Okein karashmo Edom. Ki lo agu alav. People mocked him. Shemachar bechora nichberes bavur tavshel ma'at. That he sold this remarkable birthright for some food. Ki sove v'zolo yoresh. Because what a terrible trade that he made. So people referred to him moving forward as Edom. You're the dimwit who sold the birthright for just something that all you could describe it as was red. That's what the Ramban says. Orach Chaim and Pasuk Lamed. Hakein karashmo perish. Who Esav karashmo Edom. By the way, I don't know if anyone else caught this. The grammar of the pasuk is he called his name Edom. So, for example, how the Ramban explains it, it should be they called him Edom. Why is it he called his name Edom? So the Orach Chaim says Esav called himself Edom moving forward. Vatam lo letzad shekara shem ho'edom Edom shnei pa'amim el letzad sheyaholich lamos ubohich yinafsho kara shmo Edom b'shmo. So the Orach Chaim says the pshat is Esav recognized that he only was living past that day because he got the lentils. In other words, he thought he was on the verge of death. So he called himself red from that point on because he recognized that that's the only way he survived because he bought those lentils, just a very different pshat. So we discussed this morning numerous pshatim in what Rivka is saying with the pain of her pregnancy, the strangeness of her pregnancy, why me? And we discussed two ideas, and therefore he called his name Edom. I should mention that many comment on this pasuk in one way or another, that it's so striking that Esav refers to the lentils not as lentils, but as the surface level description of them, the color that they had. And there many say that the idea is that this shows that Esav was a very shitchiustic person, as they say, that he was only interested in the face of things and not interested in the depth of things. It's a very famous comment made on this pasuk.